Okay, we're on Shabbat, Perek Zayin, Mishnah Aleph. The Mishnah turns to actually some really, really important understanding the background of Hilchot Shabbat. I often wonder, I don't really know the answer, why these Mishnah, why Rabbi Yehuda Nasi didn't choose to introduce Hilchot Shabbat with these rules. Why he started with Yitziot Shabbat, I have no idea. But here we're going to learn some really important rules about Shabbat. So we've learned that if you do an Isur B'mezid, Isur Shabbat B'mezid, you're Chayav Skila. Here, let's go before we even get to, okay. If you do an Isur, let's take the underline and the bold. If you do an Isur Shabbat B'mezid, then you're Chayav Skila. Meaning that if they Beit Din, if you were warned, and the Eidim saw you, and they warned you and said, don't do that, and you said, I don't care, I'm doing it anyway, and then you went and collected sticks outside the camp like they did like we read in the Torah, you're Chayav Skila. If you do B'shogeg, then you're Chayav Chatat. Okay, Shogeg means you do it not, I didn't know at all, I didn't know there was such a thing, but you have to do Shogeg accidentally. So you have to know what is the rule, what's considered accidentally. So the answer is there's two possibilities. Okay, the possibility, you either, let's say, I have to know, I know that there's such a thing called Shabbat. And the Mishnah is going to talk about that. Do I know there's Shabbat? I know there's Shabbat. Do I know that it's Shabbat? Do I know that this action is Asur? And that's what our Mishnah is going to talk about. The Mishnah says the following. Klal amru b'Shabbat. They said a rule about Shabbat. Kol ha-shokeach, so here's the following. Kol ha-shokeach ikar Shabbat. V'asa melachot harbeh b'Shabbatot harbeh. If I forget there is such a thing as Shabbat, I didn't know, I forget. Oh yeah, I'm a Jew, but I grew up in, I don't know where. I saw melachot harbeh b'Shabbatot harbeh, and I did a lot of melachot over many Shabbatot, and then I come and realize, so I learned, when I was bar mitzvah, there's such a thing as Shabbat, then I moved away, and I lived in Hawaii, and I never heard of such a thing, and I forgot that there was such a thing. And then I come back to Yerushalayim, and they say, oh, you violated Shabbat. But I forgot there was such a thing as Shabbat. Shokeach ikar Shabbat. Forgot there was Shabbat. Says the Mishnah, that's one fundamental forgetting. Eino chayav el achat. I'm chayav one chatat, one shogeg. Why chatat? We're going to go to the Bartanura here in depth. Eino chayav el chatat. Al kol Shabbatot shechilel. On all the Shabbatot that I violated. Dekula shgaga chada. It's all one big shgaga. Because it says, Dichtiv et Shabtotai tishmo. You should guard my Shabbatot. Umashma, we learn from this. Shmira achad l'Shabbatot arbei. That's one shmira. You have to guard once. Meaning you have to remember there is such a thing as Shabbat. That's one forgetting. If a person forgot there was such a thing as Shabbat, then every issue that he does, he drives and he cooks and he whatever, he does all these things. He didn't remember there was such a thing as Shabbat. That's shogeg. He knew before, but he didn't remember. He forgot. That's shogeg. Mishnah continues. Ayodea ikar Shabbat. So I knew there was such a thing as Shabbat. Ve'asa melachot arbei b'Shabbatot arbei. And I did many melachot and many Shabbatot. I knew there was a thing of Shabbat. So, chayav al kol Shabbat v'Shabbat. And then I'm chayav on each Shabbat a korban shgaga, a korban chatat. What's going on here? The Mishnah, the Bartanura says, I know ayodeh ikar Shabbat. I know the Shabbat b'Torah, and then I know that you're not allowed to do melachot. V'lachasa melachot harbei b'Shabbatot harbei ayidei shigagat Shabbat. I was shigagat Shabbat, in this case, she'eino yodeh Shabbat hayom. Each time I keep forgetting it's Shabbat. So I know the Shabbat, I know I'm not allowed to drive, but I always forget what day it is. Chayav akol Shabbat v'Shabbat chatat achad. So it's always, the shigaga here is that I forgot that today is Shabbat. I didn't forget that the melachot. I knew you can't do melachot, right? I don't Shabbat. V'al zeh ne'emar v'shamu b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat. The Jewish people kept the Shabbat. The mashma, it tells us shmira l'chol Shabbat v'Shabbat. That there's a shmira for each and every Shabbat. So that's the second category. So let's go to, I made a chart. First category, a chart of the Mishnah. First category is, I know, Ikar. Okay, I forgot Ikar Shabbat. I forgot there is Shabbat. Then I'm only chayav one chatat, even though it could have been weeks and weeks. It's all one shgaga. The second example is when I know there is Shabbat, and I did melachot Shabbat, but I don't know that it's Shabbat. So each time I forget that it's Shabbat, in that case, chayav al kol Shabbat v'Shabbat. Okay, in this little chart, I made for you the language of the Mishnah, and then I also made for you the language of the Bartanura, just copying from the Mishnah and the Bartanura in the chart. The Mishnah continues, the third kind. Hayodea shu Shabbat ve'asa melachot harbei b'Shabbatot harbei. If I know there is Shabbat, and I know that it is Shabbat, and I did many melachot of many Shabbatot, and in each case now I must have forgotten the melacha. Let's look at the Bartanura, because in this case, chayav al kol av melacha u'melacha. I'm chayav in each and every melacha. So the Bartanura says, Shelo yada shemelachot alalu asurot. I forgot the melachot. V'asa kama pe'amim bekama Shabbatot. So I forgot, you're not allowed to drive, you're not allowed to plant. So I forgot Havara, I knew it was Shabbat, I knew allowed to do things, and I forgot also, not only did I forget Havara, I forgot Zri'ah. And over the many, I'm a gardener, and I drive and I do my gardening, and I drive and do my gardening. And I knew that it was Shabbat, but I didn't remember you're not allowed to drive. I knew you light candles on Friday night, but I didn't know you're not allowed to garden. I didn't know you're not allowed to drive. So the Mishnah says, Chayav, I learned it, but I forgot it. Not that I never learned. Chayav al kol av melacha chatat achad. So every av melacha is considered an isur. Okay? So because each one, I forgot each av melacha over many Shabbatot. That's what he said here. Shelo yadash melachot halalu asurot. You didn't know that those melachot were forbidden, and you did them kama pa'amim bekama Shabbatot. You did them many times over many weeks. Kol av mi'achad shgaga. The Mishnah says each av melacha in that case is a shgaga. That's the din of the Mishnah. Finally, the Mishnah continues. We conclude. Let's say on one Shabbat, I do many melachot, but I do a tolda. That's me'ein melacha. It's a tolda. It's a sub. For example, the Kahati says, okay, I planted and I watered plants and I pulled out weeds in order for planting. All those are, I'm sorry. I did toldot, one second. Okay, tolda from one ab. I planted and then I pruned and then I watered the plants. All of those for zoreah. I did a bunch of different things connected to zoreah. Okay, eno chayav ela chatat achad because it's all one shgaga. I forgot there's a problem of planting. So the gardener is doing all this gardening and he's weeding and he's planting and he's doing all those things for zoreah, per zoreah, and he waters the garden, but he forgot. Therefore, he's eno chayav ela chatat achad. But if I do two different melachot, then for each melacha that I forgot, then I'm chayav a different chatat, a different korban for each melacha that I do. All right, we'll stop here. The next Mishnah is going to discuss all 39 melachot. So get ready. We'll stop here. If you have any comments or questions, as always, feel free to contact me at rspolter@gmail.com. And we'll dedicate that learning, as always, to the memory of my father, Rav Simcha Yitzchak Kalman. Have a great day.